Hello everybody and welcome back to Tidepool Aquatics. I've brought you in here with me to feed some of the corals in the coral farm. I'm again joined by this loud thing. She's off camera at the moment. There you go. Hopefully she's not too distracting. So I'm just going to feed some corals, but this video is to talk about what I kind of touched on the last video, which is the few things that beginners need to know to succeed and without much trouble. So I'm just going to prepare my little concoction here, which is just that. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's just that. It's a good solution. It's not reefroids or where it's 100% phytoplankton. It is a mix of many different things, but I like it. It works. Corals like it, and we just get a fine heaping there. That's a lot, but sorry if I look a bit sweaty. It's a bit hot in the garage. Welcome to North Queensland in Australia. It's freaking hot, and that is one of the troubles of keeping a reef tank up here. You know, one thing that is common I see on YouTube is that you just need to throw a heater in a tank and you've got the temperature control you need for a reef aquarium. Not here. You either need an aircon on 24/7 or a chiller, which there's 4 running in here, and they're expensive. They're not cheap. It's just a fact of the matter. You need to have some way to keep the temperature to 25 degrees, because if without that, you can expect your tank to get to 33, 35 degrees, no problem. In here, I've seen it upwards of 40 in some of the tanks that don't have anything in them, thankfully. While I wait for this to soak in and become a liquid, I think the most important thing that I see beginners not realize is salinity. Salinity, I've talked about it a few times, but I think I need to preface it as much as I can. Salinity is not a back thought that, you know, oh, I can deal with it later. No. If you can't deal with salinity straight up, you're never gonna succeed. So the good thing about salinity is it's a very easy one to fix. Just always make sure that you've got topped up water, have an ATO, or you can check it every day with a refractometer, you know, or something to measure salinity. By all God, please do not use a hydrometer or a cheap hydrometer. There are expensive ones that you can use that are a bit better, but it's the cheap ones which I've seen so many people use and have issues with. They just do not work. I am gonna go turn on the fan because it's bloody hot. Sorry if that creates noise. My fan has a thermometer on it and it's telling me it's 35 degrees in here right now. So yeah. Where was it? So, salinity. Absolutely nail that first. After you nail that, everything becomes so much easier. After that, the next thing you need to worry about is not lighting, not alkalinity, magnesium, calcium, phosphate, nitrate. Those do come. But the next thing you need to worry about is flow. Flow is so important. The amount of tanks that I've gone to do servicing and give advice to, you know, because they're having an issue, and the first thing I've seen when I walk in and see the tank is you need more flow. I don't think people understand just how much it affects the health of coral. It is. I've had clients' tanks where they've been running into issues for months and months and months, and then eventually they change one thing, which is usually adding an extra power head or two, and all those problems just go away. It's so vital. It is the circulatory system of your reef tank. The return pump and your sump and all that filtration is added onto that. It's part of that. More flow helps kick up stuff, detritus and whatever, and put it into the filtration and keep it going and healthy, and allow your filtration to take out those products. But flow, salinity, flow. Then you can move on to lighting. I tend to tell people go for the best light that you can afford and what is available to you. Because if you don't, and that means you could go with a cheap Amazon light. You're just going to be, I think the best way to explain this is you can have a Toyota Camry. It'll be just fine, but you will run into smaller issues. It won't be able to do exactly what you want. Or you can have a Toyota a Toyota Land Cruiser. Toyota Land Cruiser will be able to do everything the Camry can, and better, and go out off the road, and all those things. That's what it is. But a cheap Amazon light will absolutely work. You're just going to have to run your tank to the light, just like you'd have to run your tank to the flow. You'd have to run your tank to the nutrients that you're running. And it's all exactly the same. So it's important. I run a Radion on this tank and an AI Prime. I do like those two lights. They're very fantastic lights, but they're expensive. I run them because I have Radions on my main display and I know that they work. This one is just a filler for now until I can get another Radion, and I would like to put it next to it. But until then, it's working just fine. And in fact, some cases, I have noticed this AI Prime makes my A-cans look better than the Radion. And that's, I think, mostly because the Radion is maybe a bit too bright, or just doesn't have the same blue pop that the AI Prime does, because this is the Radion Pro, not the blue. AI is a good brand, but you go with the light that you can, but the best one that you can afford and find. It'll save you problems later on. So you've now just set up your tank. You've got flow in it, you've got sufficient filtration, and you've worked out a way to keep your salinity perfect. Now, yes, you start to think about other things. You add your first coral. Let's say your first corals are some A-cans like the ones that I'm feeding right now. Actually, I will show you personally. Let me just grab you off of this. That's my holder for my feeding thing. Alright, so let's say those are the corals you go with, your 8-can corals here. Or maybe you go with a hammer, or a gonny, or a scully, a chalice. So those corals, you'll notice the more of you, the fewer of you, however many of you are a bit more knowledgeable on corals, those are all LPS corals. They have a skeleton. Now, those are perfectly fine choices for your first coral. I have seen many people succeed with them just fine. If you want to go with a more resilient coral, you can go with something like a zoanthid, a Signalaria, a toadstool leather, all your leathers and your other soft corals. They are absolutely a good choice. And in that case, you don't even need to worry about elements for them. Water changes will keep you going with those for the first few months even. You do not need to worry about calcium, magnesium, alkalinity. Those are things that you should probably keep an eye on, but in a new tank they're going to vary a lot anyway, and soft corals, you will never have to worry about those. So then it comes down to what few factors: salinity, lighting, and flow. That's it. Now, nutrients such as nitrates and phosphates do matter, but they only matter for making your tank look better and stopping algae outbreaks, if that makes sense. I would still focus on not overfeeding, making sure you're not throwing too much into the tank that your new tank can't keep up with. A mature tank, you can throw a lot more food in without affecting nitrates and phosphates than a new tank that hasn't established that ecosystem yet. So if you notice, we've now shrunk the how many elements there and things you need to worry about at the beginning of the tank to just a few. And those few are extremely easy to look after, which makes you think this hobby is not hard. See, it's so simple. This tank here, which is the coral farm, is a leftover tank from my main display when I bought it off someone. The sump didn't fit in the stand that I got built for it. This doesn't have a sump to it. The skimmer is... it's the right size for it, but it's old and I hardly ever clean it. But I don't need to because this tank runs at the parameters that I want. And that's just having a simple understanding of how much I'm putting into it. It does run on a doser. There's calcium, alkalinity, magnesium, but that's because I'm growing coral in here that is not just soft corals. I'm growing LPS corals and torches and hammers. So yeah, my point is that if you start off with simple corals, it's not hard. Knock your salinity perfect, your flow perfect, filtration, whatever it is, perfect, lighting perfect. Lighting, you set up at the start. After it's set up, it's done. That's it. That's all you need. The salinity, you know how to keep that good. Every day you top it up a bit, every day you check it, or whatever you need to do. I hardly ever check salinity and things anymore because I don't need to. I know what the salinity is. And I get used to knowing how much evaporates. And then your flow is you set and forget as well. You might need to change it later on as you add more rock or add more coral, and coral grows and takes up more space. But the only other thing is temperature. Temperature, but is again at one that is after you work it out, it's done. If you whack a chiller on a tank, that's it. You're done. The chiller will keep your temperature perfect. If you're not doing that, then maybe you need a heater. You whack a heater in, done. Or the other one is you have it in a room that stays around that 25 degrees Celsius, 26 all the time. Again, you're done. After you get over that first initial hurdle, this hobby's easy. If you want to add in some LPS corals, then you start worrying about calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium. But it still only becomes a point where water changes will keep up with most of your LPS corals that you want to keep because they're slow growing. Torches, hammers, Trachyphilias, scollies. Those are all very easy to keep corals because they don't suck up too much in the way of elements. Eventually, I tend to find people will have to move towards a dosing solution. There's many easy dosing solutions nowadays. There is All for Reef. There's your classic 3-part. Here in Australia, a common one is Coral Essentials. It's what I use. There's Red Sea. They're all very easy, and if once you need to start dosing, they still only take a couple of minutes a day to throw it in your tank, and you're done. It's simple. There's no need to complicate things, and I think complicating things in the early days, not after you Okay, so the battery ran out. I was pretty much at the end of what I was wanting to say anyway, but I wanted to finish with important things to find is just someone who will help you along in the process. Find a really good local fish store that is willing to help and not just be there for the money. Or find someone who's just really interested in the hobby to help you along the way. They're going to be your best resources. You know, you could read as much as you want online, but experience matters a lot because every tank is slightly different. But that's all from me. It's not difficult, but it is. I don't know how. It's just not difficult. But it takes doing certain things. Do it, and you will get success. And then also taking things slow and asking questions. Ask questions. One of my mottos is knowledge is free. If you want to come into the store and ask me 300 questions, I will give you 300 answers if I can, and to the knowledge that I can. If I don't know, I'll say I don't know. but knowledge should be free because knowledge is how people succeed in the hobby. Yeah, that's it. So anyway, thank you all for watching. I have an idea for another video that's going to come out after this one, and it's thinking about the ecosystem of a tank in a different way, in the way that I think about it, and I think some people have, it helped explain things to certain people. So yeah, thank you for watching. This has been Tidepool Aquatics.